The N64, Nintendo's first real attempt at 3D gaming. I mean polygonal, not whatever the Virtual Boy was supposed to be. This was the console that, for a lot of 90s gamers, introduced fully realized three-dimensional worlds to explore. All-time classics like Banjo-Kazooie, Ocarina of Time, and Conquer are just some of the kick-ass games that came out for this system. Love or hate that weird-ass controller or not, you gotta appreciate the impact the platform had on gaming as a whole. Surely there must be a lot of fan games that paid tribute to the look and feel of the good old days. Well, that's what I aim to answer in today's video. I picked a bunch of indie games that are all tagged as N64, and we're gonna put them head to head to see which one is the most faithful. So without further ado, let's begin. We'll start with Benighted 64, and okay, it looks good. But what's with these platforms? It's right in front of us, but we jump like shit. You know this is a bee, right? They can fly. So for whatever reason, the developer wanted us to start from behind. The very first thing we see is a platform we can't make. Game Design 101. So we go this way and collect what looks like bullets. But I've got a feeling they were meant to be larvae. She more or less glides in place for a second, and with a non-existent height from the jump, you better be sure the next place you land is level with the ground you're jumping from. The life bar is straight from Banjo-Kazooie, but here it makes more sense, cause you are in fact a bee. As far as I can tell, there's no way to lose health to tell if it works or not. We have an attack. We swing this leaf blade like crazy at the only other model, but it hasn't been implemented yet. We collect all the larvae, and that finishes the game. According to the developer, this was his first project, and made for a game jam no less. Now I'm not sure the reality of a first-timer making a fully modeled and animated prototype. This is completely functional on a time limit, but for all we know, he's been working on it for a while, and this is simply his first release. I don't know, but just like the developer, I too want to see this game grow into a fully featured experience. Stargazing 64. Alright. This game looks very N64. Go across this bridge here, grab the telescope. I guess we're gonna do some stargazing. It's quite dark now, so we should be able to find some good ones. UY Scooty, that's a star, right? Here's another one. Can't forget about Wezen, which I read Weezen the first time. One more star, cool. What's this? A red star. And it's coming closer? Oh shit! This is totally Hellstar Remina. Go look it up, by Junji Ito. It's great. After an uncomfortable moment staring into each other's eyes, he crashes into us, ending the game. This was a 2.5 minute experience, so I've shown you the entire game unfortunately. Still, not bad if you go into it blind. In Guns and Bees, no, not Guns N' Roses, you play as yet another bee. And hey, we have the same life bar. This time it's an isometric view, and we actually have objectives to work with. The missions always show up in this black box, which is honestly a little bit too big for its own good. Also, the corners of the image have been rounded off, which does make it resemble an old tube TV. We take control of Queen Bee, as the colony is being overrun with invading forces. We must escape and take our revenge on the person responsible, Mr. Honey Money. How do we do that? Well, not by collecting these flowers. As far as I can tell, these don't do anything. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not playing anymore to find out. No, the real goal is to make it to the boss without dying. What's trying to kill us? Each level introduces a couple enemy types at a time. The first couple are Drone, which is single shot, Wannabe, which is multi-directional, and Turbinator, who shoots a shotgun-like blast with a nice crunchy sound effect. Later enemies are Beeffather and even Super Turbinator. We don't have a way to kill any of them, so our only option is either to outrun or outmaneuver them, but probably both. There's also this dash that comes in quite handy. If you take damage, you can occasionally find green pluses that act as health pickups. On the topic of items, there's a pill that clears the bullets off the screen, an ice-looking thing that freezes everything for a second, and a shield that, well, it's in the name. There's only 3 levels for us to play, and they're actually pretty fun. The hive, the garden, and the house. It can get pretty chaotic with all these bullets flying everywhere, but I had a good time here. Where I didn't have a good time was the bosses. I was only able to beat the last one since they are just stupid difficult. Maybe I'm not into the bullet hell genre, and yeah, I guess I'm not really. Though I've beaten hundreds of runs of Binding of Isaac, and that game can get crazy. Why I have so much trouble? It doesn't help that I didn't have a single clue on what to do. The game had me holding down areas in one mission, so I figured that's what I was supposed to do. It wasn't until the very last boss, Mr. Honey Money himself, that I figured it out. After a few attacks, he'll launch an arm at you, and all you have to do is lead it into his path to do damage. A couple more times and he's done. Besides dickish bosses, this game's alright. If you like Banjo-Kazooie, you're gonna love Kiwi 64. From the moment you open the game, you hear this music that feels 100% late 90s rareware. And to my eyes, graphics that are spot on in 64. We play as Kiwi, and we must rid the mountaintop of this evil melon. That's all the plot we need in this kind of game. And we're off! For starters, these camera controls are modern. That and the frame rate being consistently high is not something you'd see on the original console, let alone together. But when you look at it, those elements were limitations rather than features, and are a welcome improvement in my eyes. What is there to do in this game? Which, given Kiwi was inspired by the greatest hits from Rareware, this is a collectathon. The main collectible being these music notes, which are all over the place. You'll also be fetching items for some of the characters, which all have very nostalgic designs. The grapes need you to find their missing siblings. The large boulder has you collecting letters that spell out Kiwi. The Kiwi 65 cartridge, which is a funny sequel name I'm surprised no one used, needs a key to unlock his cage. The giant snake wants an apple from way up top a tree branch. And the Deku tree wants you to stay the hell away from his nuts. Huts. So of course we destroyed them all. And look what's inside. The second collectible in the game. Golden lamps. And you'll get these for completing those requests we talked about. And you'll need them too, as this is the only way to defeat the evil melon. If you happen to take damage at this point, there's a handful of banana enemies that will give you some health back. If you kill them all before needing them, well, you're screwed. Kiwi has a couple of moves he can do. A spinning kick that looks like it wouldn't hit anything, and a much more impressive spinning beak attack that finishes with a triple backflip. After gathering all 5 lamps, which electrocute Mr. Melon right off the mountain, the day is saved. I loved this game. It's way too short for how much fun it is, but I would highly recommend. This is Torbit, the world's smallest enemy. At least, that's what the title screen says. He's a little asteroid thing that I first thought was a Geodude without the arms.
Geodude, come back to this side!
Being a round boy, Obviously, we're going to be rolling him around, which actually feels nice to control. Instead of fighting with physics being the main focus, like in some other games, its gameplay is based on tight and responsive platforming. The only mechanic we have to worry about are a roll and a dash that extends our jumps. It's simple. The challenge comes in how well the world is designed around these abilities. I'm not gonna lie, this game broke my balls. And this might sound weird, but it did it in the best way possible. After the tutorial, Torbit lands in someone's backyard, and our goal is to destroy 4 items around the level. It's not going to be easy though, as several things stand in our way. First is the platforms, which expect a certain amount of precision. Gaps are placed devilishly apart, so rushing really isn't an option. Next is the environmental elements. There's the birds that'll block your way, leaves that'll fall after a few seconds of standing on them, jump pads, bouncing spatulas, and of course, the frogs. These guys will try and ruin your day by knocking you to the ground. They're not hard to avoid, but I have to say I enjoyed the hell out of tricking them into falling. As you would expect, the items we're after are at the end of platforming challenges. One is atop a balcony on the right side, one's across clothes hangers on the table. One is past some chairs and a seat full of frogs. And lastly, beyond the swinging towel and past like 8 birds. I could say I beat the game like a red-headed stepchild, but let's get real. I died many times. I had a great time with Torbit. I didn't expect to like it so much, but these things do happen. I've even played the game a second time, if that says anything. Unfortunately though, it looks more like a GameCube game rather than something you'd see on the N64, so it does lose some points. Noire Detective 64 is a joke game, but for laughs, let's give it a go. I'll pick brown hair for realism. So we're an inspector, not as cool sounding as detective, but I'll take it. Now this looks like it could run on N64. All we have to do is dodge these poorly parked cars. There's not much to it. The road ahead turns into Rainbow Road from Mario Kart. The first of many references we'll be seeing. It's time to do some inspecting. Who's the guy? It's Yoshi. Or should I say Yoshi. He gives us some bogus alibi about paying taxes. It's like, yeah, okay, but you're full of shit. After some further questioning, he tips us off to a man in a green hat and an orange shirt. And so we're on our way. Not before getting our gun though. Can't go in half cocked. What is this? The coconut gun from Donkey Kong 64?
Okay.
Now we're in a side-scrolling section and, oh my god, look at all these particles. The Nintendo 64 definitely couldn't do this. After nutting on all these guys, don't look at me, it shoots coconuts. We find the man we're after, Big Bad, who is a crazy serial killer, but not the killer we're after. He informs us that the only one who could have done it is a powerful villain, which head looks suspiciously like a burger. We get a call from the chief, taking his evening bath. The killer has struck again and kidnapped another girl. Not just any girl. Our girlfriend! Before we head out, we learn that there's a shortage of coconuts. I guess we probably used them all earlier. and we have to take a partner. Now, I'm not a bitter old cop like Chris Rock in Spiral, so we don't bitch about it and take the help. It's a bird that sits in a backpack. It's crazy how much I've had to talk about Banjo-Kazooie today. We make it to the Sky Castle, and who's behind all of this? The only way to beat him is through a dancing rhythm game. And let me be clear, I didn't think it was fun in San Andreas, I didn't think it was fun in Jackass the game, and it's not fun here. Vertical is fine, like in DDR, but horizontally, I am not a fan. Whatever, we kick his ass. The day is saved, and I'm now blonde, I guess. That's cool. This is what you call programmer art, which is a term to describe games that err on the more technical aspect of design, rather than visually. Now, it's fine, perfectly serviceable. On the N64 side of things though, this is unfortunately not what you'd see on the platform. Voxels weren't a thing back then, well, especially not on the N64. And so this simply doesn't have the aesthetic you'd picture when thinking of an N64 game. However, mechanically and thematically, this would be very at home on the system. We play as a cube with big cartoon eyes running around collecting things, very much akin to Rare's old style. I'm noticing a trend with all these Banjo-inspired projects. The most common collectible are these golden bells, but the main goal is to acquire all the geokeys. It's not going to be that simple, however, because in order to access them, you'll need to find the hidden holes scattered around the level, mostly in rocks like this. On your journey, you'll be doing lots of platforming, and here is where I think the game does something really cool. You can jump and double jump as the cube, but let's be honest, it's not a very interesting design by a long shot. But surprisingly, this is not his only form. Left clicking will see us transform into a spinning frisbee, not only acting as an attack, but also extending our jumping distance. Pressing E after jumping turns us into a heavy triangle, and running sees us become a dreidel. Okay. These additions might not seem like much, but they really do spice up the dull graphics and add some variety to the gameplay. It's a pretty fun time. There's not much going on in the level, but what's here is very acceptable. These rolling spikes are the only enemy in the game, and take 2 hits to kill. They really should have only taken 1 hit, considering the combat doesn't feel at all nice. And the developer thought it best to lump like 4 of them together in an area, so you're probably gonna take some damage. So you might be thinking, what happens when you collect all those big ass keys? Well, I did just that, and it's worth all the trouble to get them. Nothing happens. Nothing at all. There we go, all 7 games. So, which one was the most like a true N64 game? As if I even have to say. Kiwi 64 just knocked it out of the park. You can really feel the love in this one. If you didn't tell me this was an indie game, I would have totally believed this was on the original system. Well, other than the frame rate. I've had to mention Banjo a bunch today, but hell, that's for a good reason. The aesthetic is very nice to look at. So what about my favorite game? Is it also Kiwi? Well, it would have been if not for Torbit. Yes, Torbit was just amazing. It might not have looked exactly like an N64 game, but damn, was it fun as all hell. Don't get me wrong, it slapped my ass pretty good, but it's not like I Am Bread or Octodad or anything, where it's hard to do anything. Torbit feels so nice to move around. He goes when you tell him to, and stops when you stop pressing forward. This is definitely going into my keep folder. So those are my opinions. What's yours? Let me know in the comments below. And subscribe for more videos just like this. Have a great day.